In my last video, I took my Jeep apart and had some fun with some of the worst comments the project has gotten. Some of you kind of took that the wrong way, so this time let's do the opposite. Put the Jeep back together and read some of my favorite comments, because, as Alf Knoll said, people who don't like that you're converting this rust bucket into electric are just dumb people who will whine and moan about anything at all. Their opinions don't matter. Now that I've got everything on the chassis sealed up, I can push it outside to make some room to bring the body in and finish that. I really prefer keeping my auto parts frozen if I can. Makes it a little bit harder to find, but it does keep them fresh in the long term. I've been putting off finishing the inside and bottom of the tub up until now because I wanted to make sure I had everything mounted where it needed to be mounted and any holes drilled where they needed to be and any holes I didn't need filled in. So now it's time to clean off the accumulated grease and mud. It's kind of wild for me to look back at what this thing started out as. Like Rodfrey said, "Wow, your ambition is incredible. It's like you found a package of hamburger on the side of the road and decided to build a cow." Getting ready to spray this thing was just a fairly absurd amount of sanding and scuffing. I kind of did a little bit at a time. I also had to cut back part of this support to clear the battery box lid. And then weld it back up. Gary Mutcher 4082 left a comment saying, "Look at it this way. It's already a wreck, so whatever you do will be an improvement. Looks like a grand project to me. I'll be watching your progress." That was the point. This thing was already ruined, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job of unruining it, and I really appreciate the people who followed along. Dwight Shoup 195 said, "If they think an old Jeep is too far gone, they've never owned one." I think we've proved that here. In addition to a lot of cleaning and degreasing, I also have to add a few holes. This one's going to be for a bulkhead connector for the wiring harness. I've had good luck with a hole saw and some anchor lube and slow speed for doing big holes in sheet metal. This one's going to be for a cutoff switch for the 12-volt system. And this one will be for the driver's seat belt. It'll need a reinforcement plate on the back, but I'll do that when I put the seat belt in. I actually read the instructions for the bed liner I'm using, and it said that any seam sealer should be primed over. I've got a lot of seam sealer. Sometimes it feels like none of the coatings you want to use are compatible with anything else, and the proper prep is virtually impossible. Anyway, I'm using some 2K epoxy primer, scuffed and cleaned everything before. And once the primer was dry, I scuffed and cleaned and degreased it again and masked everything off. Before I start spraying, there's one thing that's been sitting on my workbench for way too long and I need to take care of. Easy Air sent me this desiccant air dryer system. Even though it's winter and the humidity's been pretty low, I've still been getting a fair amount of water in my air system. This should help keep that from happening, so let's read the instructions and put this thing together. Well, that's installed in only a moderately Rube Goldberg sort of way. So let's add the desiccant to this. Got my custom funnel adapter there. This is some desiccant that changes from orange to green when it absorbs moisture. So we'll just do a little bit of that on the top. There's a little sight glass right here so you can see that indicator. And when it absorbs too much moisture and you need to dry it out in the oven, you just drain it out the port in the bottom. Chris from Easy Air suggested putting the desiccant dryer after the regulator and water trap. I'll still get water in here, but the desiccant should last longer before I have to dry it out this way. Now, back to our regularly scheduled Jeep. We're going over the old Raptor liner here. Going black on the bottom. I'm going to start on the bottom so that I can figure out how to get this to lay down nicely before I do the part that you'll actually see. Doing bed liner on these Jeeps is something that can elicit some really strong feelings from people, so I feel like I should discuss why I decided to do this. The argument against it is it can peel up and trap moisture that leads to rust, but the underside of this is going to be getting blasted with sand and mud, and it's pretty obvious that the paint didn't hold up to that very well the last time, so I wanted something tougher. I did the best job I could with prepping it, so hopefully everything is really well adhered. Also, this Jeep isn't going to have any sort of carpet or flooring, so I want something that will at least give a small amount of sound deadening. And I want something that's going to hold up to getting dirt ground into it and having tools and firewood thrown into the back. For doing the inside, I wanted to do something that would match the body color, so I got a kit that came with pigment. Looks like it's a pretty close match, except it's a metallic pigment, which I'm not sure how I feel about, but we'll see how it goes, see how it looks, and adjust afterwards if we need to. If I was being really anal about this, I would mix all of this together in one pot and then divide it back up, just to ensure that everything was exactly the same shade, but I don't feel like doing that. I've been staring at this for a while, and I think this color is close, but not quite. I don't love it, and because I had different colored primer under it and it didn't hide very well, it's kind of blotchy. The overall scheme on this is a little bit of inconsistency in the paint, but this isn't quite what I want, so I'm going to go back at it with the scuff pad. Anthony Hancock says, false channel description. This is Jeremy Takes Things Apart. I've had to unsubscribe from Blondie Hacks due to the lack of hack, and I have my suspicion that this old Tony is not actually old, so he's probably next. Thumbs down. Well, I feel like I've taken this thing apart and put it back together enough times I can skip over most of it and just show you the new parts. Past Jeremy left the wiring harness for me to deal with, but at least he's a nice enough guy to have match-marked everything where he cut it. My cutoff switch is living between the battery and the fuse box. Normally when you're disconnecting a battery, you want to disconnect the ground first, because if you touch something between this and anywhere else on the vehicle, it can short. But in this case, this cable is coming from my DC-DC converter, which is essentially acting like the alternator to charge the battery. And since this has its own ground, if I disconnect the ground on the battery, there's still electricity that can flow from here into the fuse box. So the way this is set up, it'll kill all of the 12 volt to the entire Jeep, including the signal that turns on the DC-DC converter. Well, this is fun, because I moved this bulkhead fitting over a little bit. Now the wires under the dashboard are too short to reach where they need to go, so I'm going to spend some time splicing 3 inches of wire into a whole bunch of wires under here. One thing hasn't changed in the last 70 years. Working under dashboards is still not fun. Well, let's look at the results here. I am really happy with how this all came out. The blacked out engine bay, or battery bay, I guess. It just looks really clean, and I think it gives a good contrast for the outside of the vehicle. Not what you would expect to have underneath here. Except for the horn. The horn looks exactly like it should be under here. But Desert Too Hot said, "Keep the horn, please. Thank you." So I did. I really like the blacked out wheel wells and undercarriage. I know originally it would have been body color, but I think this looks really good, and I'll probably hit this with some wool wax at some point anyway to just give another layer of corrosion protection. The interior is already starting to get a little dirty just from tracking mud in as I've been working on it. The bed liner didn't totally hide my weld seams, but I think that looks a lot better than it would if I had painted it. Been slowly chipping away at little details like rubber plugs. There's a whole bunch of that stuff that still needs to get done. I did wrap the bed liner up over the top of the rail just because you do kind of tend to put your foot there when you're getting in and out. Give that a little more protection. Same thing here, so if I put the hard top back on, it doesn't scrape all the paint up. I'd say there's a little bit more gloss to this than I would like, and I've hit some of it with the scuff pad. But with as dirty as this is going to get, I don't think that gloss is going to last real long, and it'll look right pretty quickly. And since the bed liner underneath this paint is a slightly different shade, as it gets worn in and some of that paint gets worn off, it's going to sort of do an accelerated patina, give it sort of the uneven look that I think fits the character of this vehicle pretty well. At RB-YQ7QV commented, "I think it's a gem. Yes, it will need some work, but it will be a thing of beauty when it's finished." I think we're getting there. I'm really happy with how this is coming together, and it's pretty much matching the vision I've had of this for the past almost 4 years. It feels like this thing is really close to being back on the road. Obviously, I still need a windshield and seat belts and a few other small things. I just want to say thank you again to everyone who helps support the channel through Patreon, YouTube memberships, buying a t-shirt from jeremymakesthings.net, and for companies like Anchor Lube and Easy Air that help support the channel too, and of course to you for watching. Man, this thing's cool.